our special VeVe Ecomi live stream. As digital collectibles really take hold, some digital collectibles have changed the world. Today, we're here to talk about one company and their digital collectibles as one of the most innovative companies producing digital collectibles out there. That company is Ecomi and their digital app called VeVe. We have our resident NFT expert, Doctor of Stuff, joining us, our top-notch producer, D Money, and a special guest, NFT Pirates, joining us, who has a great channel focused on VeVe and Ecomi. Welcome to the Wednesday Ecomi live stream of the Crypto Rain channel. If you like money in crypto and you're looking for a 24-year investor's take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family. You do that by liking this video and subscribing with the all notifications bell enabled. No rain, no gain. Now, none of this is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We are crypto investors ourselves. We do own Ecomi's token and also a myriad of VeVe collectibles, as many as we can get our hands on. And we're super avid fans ourselves of Ecomi and VeVe. So hopefully you've followed this channel since March of last year and you have crushed it with the VeVe collectibles. We were buying Todd McFarlane's back at $80 back then. On this channel, we talk about crypto investing and solid crypto investing principles. But on Wednesday evenings, we are focused like a laser beam on Ecomi and VeVe. So make it rain on that like button, and let's welcome our producer. Let's welcome Doctor of Stuff, and let's welcome our special guest, Chad, with NFT Pirates.
Hey, what up, Jay? Thanks for having us, man. I always look forward to these Wednesday night kind of fanboy chats, VeVe nerd chats. Like, what do you want to call it? I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Totally yeah, you got to be part nerd to be in this group. And, you know, remember that movie like Revenge of the Nerds? That really did kick off an era where the nerds made more money than everyone else, right? And it's still going that direction. And the truth is, if you don't have some nerd in you, you're totally missing the crypto boom, and you're totally missing it on VeVe.
Exactly. And the amazing thing now is that, you know, being a nerd is cool. And it makes you money. As before, we didn't have that.
Totally. Exactly. Like the picture of like this really skinny guy with glasses that you can tell is like a total nerd, and he's walking with this super hot girl. Well, that's reality.
Yeah.
I'm that nerdy guy, right? And then I walk down the street with my wife, and they look at me and they're like, "How did that guy get that girl?" And I was like, "I'm sure you don't know."
So, Chad, thanks for joining us, man. I'm curious, how long have you been in the collectible space, period, like prior to VeVe?
So I've been in the collectible space my entire life. So essentially, you know, grew up as a little kid collecting Pokemon cards, and I had a very intelligent mom at the time who would take those cards, put it in top holders, and never let me touch them again. So I would be able to look at them once a week on a Saturday morning, and you know, we go through my most infamous cards. And it taught me principles at a young age that I carried on for a long time. And I ended up making tons of money in my early 20s by selling these Pokemon cards that, you know, were kept in such mint condition for such a long time. And, you know, once I heard about the NFT space, you know, it really got my blood boiling, because I started thinking to myself, well, hey, you know, here's a second opportunity to do it again, but in the digital realm, when everything's, you know, the first of something and it's all new and exciting again. So that's pretty much how my journey started.
That's pretty funny. So you would buy these Pokemon cards. Now, did you get any really good ones? And she would take them away, and she would like keep them safe from you, right?
That's right. And the hard part is, you know, some of these cards now, if you were to get, let's say, a first edition Shadowless Charizard, you know, back in the day, and you kept it in good condition, as you can see, you know, a grade 10 from a high grading company like Beckett goes for $1 million, as an example. So it's incredible. You know, some of these pieces of cardboard that we didn't think anything of at the time, and now it's at that price. And, you know, when I think about VeVe and some of the collectibles there, we've seen such insane growth in just under a year in a lot of these things. So it makes me wonder, you know, in 5 to 10 to 15 years, will it have a similar trajectory, or will it even supersede in some instances?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think so in so many ways, right? So when is your VeVe birthday, Chad?
Yeah, so it's coming up. So it's March 9th that I actually got in the app. So yeah, another few weeks away, but I'll never forget that moment. Bought 18 Todds at retail as soon as I joined within the first 2 hours.
Wow.
Nice.
You bought 18 Todds?
That's a home run.
Yeah, man.
Ah,
Yeah.
I bought,
18 home runs. And
I bought
yeah,
3. I bought 3. And
Nice.
then I bought more Jokers and Harley Quinns. Because like I don't know why, man. Like I look at that and I was just like why didn't I just put all of those on the Todds? Because Rain and I had this conversation about Todd being the first on the blockchain, right? And how big that was going to be. And I was like, and like when he first, like, I was like, this all makes sense, but like, why is this JPEG worth this? Like, I was still trying to wrap my head around it, but like, I understood it enough that I'm like, I'm going to buy some, but what I bought, I mean, I'm glad I bought 3 Todds, right? But like, why didn't I stick to more Todds over more? Whatever. I think the FA Joker and FA Harley Quinn are still undervalued, but like the Todds, yeah. I was just like, if I could go back.
Yeah.
And that Joker is sick and amazing, but Todd McFarlane has crushed it in price, right? So it's like you can sell 1 Todd and still with what Joker's bumped, you can get like 12 of the Jokers. And yeah, I bought like 5 of the Jokers, and I'm kicking myself because could have been 5 more Todds because they were the same price.
Right. And who knows, maybe there's a comeback. But I think at the time when my brother and I first joined the app, we were looking at this and we looked up other licensed Batmans because we thought maybe there's another one out there, and we couldn't find any. We found other Batmans, but not licensed. And then on top of that, we're like, this is the first NFT and it's the first appearance. And, we're thinking about the comic books in the real world that are worth millions of dollars, from Detective Comics for the first appearance of Batman. And all these like little things started clicking. And then we said, okay, could this actually be, something bigger than what we're anticipating here? And it's not as if we're receding anymore into the physical world, right? We're only getting more and more digital and more digitized. And so I can only imagine these things cementing themselves in history, more and more as the days progress.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Somebody talked about they posed the question of like, when has the digital version of something not outperformed the physical version of it? Was the question that was asked, and I don't know. It's an interesting question, right? I mean, there's still definitely going to be, like if you have, the Marvel one, like the physical comic book, like is that always going to be worth more than, the Mint 41, secret rare? Yeah, probably. But I don't, yeah, anyway, but
I suspect no. I suspect no in the future. Just think about like gold versus Bitcoin, right? Just think about like how you sell that and move that, right? Whereas the digital one you can sell and move. And so it's like these generations coming up don't want the physical item. They want the electronic item because that way they can display it on their wall that has like an NFT, generator that flips through their NFTs and stuff, right? So, because where are they going to display that number one comic, the physical version? Nowhere, because then it puts it at risk of being damaged. So then I think as ways get invented that you can show off the flair of these digital ones, I bet you the digital comic becomes worth more than the physical by a lot.
I love that.
Yeah, we're all like,
I want to hear Chad's thoughts on that.
Well, I think it's interesting because, when I look at, for instance, the first appearance of Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy number 15, I think to myself, the artist actually, conceptualized this character for the first time in history. And it was the first time it was kind of displayed. And then, even though we have a new Spider-Man NFT, the first one ever in the digital realm, it never would have happened if it wasn't for that initial comic that came out with Spider-Man. And, so there's a few things that I see as, the first one still holding a lot of value for some people. But what I do really love is that, like, what Crypto Rain was saying is that it can be used for social capital, and it can have different utility and different things that have yet to be pioneered and explored in the digital realm. And, some of those things could be like using your secret rare Spider-Man as your profile picture on Instagram and getting a blue check mark, similar to these Bored Apes are having on Twitter. and the amount of money you can make from there as being somebody that's credible in the NFT space is probably unmatched. And we're still so early with technology. Like once it becomes more immersive and we can kind of have conversations in the metaverses, or we can project things into our physical space, I feel as though it's just going to get more and more traction. But the one thing that I think is even more important potentially is new things coming out on VeVe. If VeVe released some new character or worked with a smaller brand, there could be something new that pops out, that becomes a future Spider-Man. So I think that's also important to think about as well.
Yeah, good point. It'll be so cool to see how it goes with like the digital collectibles being like our flair in life, right? So I won't introduce myself as Crypto Rain. I'll introduce myself as Spider-Man Secret Rare number 998 holder, right? Or whatever, right? Who knows? Who knows, right? They'll be like, what? You have one of those? It's like, oh, yes. Way back in my day.
Yeah.
Right? Long story, and the kids go to sleep, But anyway, it'll be fun to see where this goes.
Let's talk about the MTL, because that's the biggest. I mean, that's always the elephant in the room when people are talking about VeVe and especially in introducing people. And so, I mean, some big changes. And Doc, why don't you talk a little bit about like what we're seeing as you log into omi.veve.me and with some of the communications that have come out from VeVe.
Yeah, right. So I logged into omi.veve.me and you see like your gem balance, right? And then you can see your OMI balance. And then basically there's like a payout button, right? Now it's grayed out for now, but that wasn't there before. And it's just another marker in the road, right, to MTL. And there was this great I almost said Twitter Spaces because that's where most things are held, but they had an AMA in their Discord within the VeVe Discord, right, where they addressed and they talked about the MTL and an article that is going to be coming out. I thought it was going to be this week, and it still could be this week, or next week. But they said it's coming out like here, but they were able to give us some specific details, right, on the MTL. The first one being that you're going to need a minimum of 1,000 gems in your wallet to start and to initiate any type of cash out. And the minimum withdrawal is going to be 50 gems. And part of that is, Reese was saying like, hey, we're going to start with 1,000. That doesn't mean that that's like the final number, but like they don't want to overload the server as they continue to like make sure this all works. And they've been doing a lot of beta testing with some of the actual VeVe users, right, in there, and doing transactions where they're stressing the systems and making sure each functionality works. And basically, to me, like, as I had a conversation with my brother, and he was like, I don't know, when MTL is coming out, and this is before we even had this AMA, and I'm like, 1 to 2 months, it has to, and because I mean, I come from like. I understand the finance sector and understanding a lot of the regulations around money transmitter licenses and financing. And so I'm like, when VeVe said that they had that okay from the regulators, that's the biggest hurdle. And now it's just kind of the mechanics of everything and making sure that like, hey, when we hit send or transfer funds, that it does that and all of these things, because they're converting everything into different, like multiple currencies around the world. I just want to say one thing about that too, with like, because I see this a lot on Twitter, right, where they're like, hey, well, Recur already has their MTL, and it's like, that's the USA. It's just one country that they have to deal with, and the regulations from one country. It's a lot easier than dealing with like regulations and making sure they're compliant with regulations from around the world. And when you have like foreign exchange, like there's so much that goes into that, a lot more than just one country. So, like it's not a fair comparison to say, well, Recur already has it and VeVe's been talking about it for a year. There's a lot more that goes into that. And when you're doing those exchanges into different currencies and all the regulations that have to follow from different countries. But the exciting thing is, right, is they basically laid out a lot of these details. And we've heard that there are people that are cashing out right now as they're testing that and making sure all of that functionality works, and that they are doing like opening it up. So like within, I mean, and this is my guess, right? But where they're at right now, barring any hiccups, like I would expect that probably within the next month, we should see almost everyone, if not everyone, with access to the MTL, which is exciting. But there's some secondary effects to that, which I think we're going to talk about too a little bit later on.
Yeah, for sure. It's been exciting, and but yeah, I mean, you're hinting at the gem squeeze that's going on right now, and like, is that what we're is that what's causing this gem squeeze that's going on? Chad, what are your thoughts overall on at a certain point for me, like the MTL? It's not that it doesn't matter, but I used to think and care about it a lot, and I just kind of don't anymore. I'm like, it's gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, does it get you excited, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to, that we're finally at this, that we're approaching this hurdle now, which is fantastic, right? And I think like everybody was saying, it's taken quite a while, but it's great that it's here. And a lot of people are nervous about it, right? Some people are excited because they're able to finally take some profits because, a lot of people didn't want to trade it offline. But they're right now, we're kind of in a position where we're likely going to see a gem squeeze. We're likely going to see things go down a little bit. But at the same time, it's not as if these NFTs became any less valuable. And, a lot of people compare it to other NFT platforms, and, they talk about similar examples with like things like NBA Top Shots. But I would argue that, VeVe's kind of taken the whole world of collecting, so to speak, and have put it onto one platform. And when you're looking at the first ever Marvel NFTs, the first ever Disney NFTs, the first ever DC NFTs, I think despite seeing a minor dip, in the long run, I feel as though, people are going to see this as a closed loop. They're going to see a little more confidence from other people that are now saying, okay, I can put my money in and take it out. And so I think it's going to bring a lot more worldwide attention. So that's kind of my take on it. And it is exciting. I'll be taking out a little bit of profits.
Yeah, that's just smart, right? To take some profits. If you never take profits, then you end up in a situation where you really, really regret it. But I have some people, I hear some people be like, oh my gosh, they don't have MTL anymore. Or they don't have it still. I'm so done with this. And I think a lot of that just comes from in the world of like, they've never been in the world of business and know that sometimes unexpected things happen. They don't have the patience to wait it through. Like these business cycles are longer cycles. And so we're really blessed sometimes we don't have to think about that. And so like when I see that kind of like freaking out and like flooding the project, I'm just like, they don't get it. Ecomi's delivered on so much. We have these NFTs that have gone crazy. These Todd McFarlanes that have gone absolutely crazy. And oh my gosh, well, they're not true NFTs if you can't extract the value. And it's like patience. Okay, you can sell it for these gems that are then usable to buy other stuff, and you can't extract it from the platform yet. And that's why, like, eventually we'll probably have a price decrease as some people like extract some value and they sell off some things. And then people see that you can do that. And I think that'll be followed by a huge increase later, because then you truly have like exits from the platform. I mean, I was an investor in NBA Top Shots. There was no exit right away. And I waited. And I'm like, man, no exit. So no big deal. This is crypto. And some of these things take a while. Like we're still early days. And that's why you can buy like a secret rare Black Panther for 1,800 gems, right?
Yeah.
What's that going to be in like 3 years from now when the money transmitter license has been out for a long time and you can extract it? Not 1,800.
Right. And that's a brilliant point that you bring up, because, just thinking about that Black Panther today, I'm like, it's got 1/3 of the mints of R2D2. And, it has just as much popularity. I mean, maybe not to the same extent of Star Wars, the entire franchise, but if you're looking at the individual character, and then on top of that, it's a secret rare and it's animated. I mean, to me, it's just interesting seeing how there's still these opportunities. People always complain, oh, I don't know, I don't have these opportunities. But if you're willing to wait, these are important NFTs. Again, never financial advice. But I mean, I think it's quite obvious is, you know, the amount of gold bricks that VeVe has just sitting there on the shelves. And, you know, just to give you some insight, like with Pokemon in 2006, with the financial crisis that happened all over the States, it was the lowest point for Pokemon ever. And they printed very limited cards at that point. And what happened is now they're the most expensive cards that your money can get your hands on, right? It's like, you know, $40,000 for a gold star Charizard as an example. And there's, you know, thousands of them. And so it just makes me think of the same principles that, you know, if there ever was a down cycle in VeVe, they would likely have to, you know, have these great deals come out, and only the people that are willing to see the long-term vision would be able to, you know, take advantage of those opportunities. So I think it's, you know, a big, you know, home run right now for anybody that's invested.
Yeah, so there was one of the rainmakers, that's the people we call that follow Rain's channel there, but he reached out to me personally and was like, hey, can you make sure to cover like your thoughts on Black Panther, and like what do you think that the price is going to do? And like I think right now it's interesting, like it's doing the comments for the number of mints, right? It is a larger mint size in general than like there was a comparison that was done between like FA Deadpool and FA Black Panther, and we've got about 60,000 mints, right, of Black Panther. But I'll say this. I didn't know much. Like, I'm actually like pretty into comics, and especially like the X-Men, the Marvel Universe. But like, I wasn't really familiar with Black Panther before VeVe. And well, actually before, sorry, like the Marvel movies and things. But I absolutely loved those movies. Like, phenomenal storyline, phenomenal characters. And I just kind of fell in love with Black Panther and that whole world, of Wakanda. And so like my thoughts right now, like I'll just say that I have definitely stacked some of the Black Panthers. I think that long term, we look at what Spider-Man did when it first came out, right? And the commons were going for, I mean, pretty dang cheap, like almost at retail. We've seen that Black Panther, it's not even that anymore, right? Like it's still going for about double retail on the commons. And maybe it's dipped since I looked at it. Maybe it's at $90 now, but still a lot higher than what the common Spider-Man sat at. But I think just over time, this is a character that Marvel continues to build out, and just that storyline. And so I think that just down the road, a lot of the people of the generations that are growing up now, like Black Panther is going to be a big superhero. And this is his FA, and it's a phenomenal, like all of them. I love the different poses, even just the stills are just incredible. Like I love those. And then the animated ones, like even cooler. Right. So, like my thought is like long-term, like this Black Panther one is definitely for me. I am stacking and hodling.
Yeah. I'm curious because so going through, so we've got Spider-Man, we've got Captain America, we've got Deadpool, we've got Storm, we've got who just dropped Invisible Woman, and now Black Panther. Am I missing anybody?
I think just like Groot, but I mean I wouldn't, you know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Good call. Good call.
Dancing Groot.
Yeah,
I love Dancing Groot.
Yeah.
So, but like of those, I put Black Panther number 2. I think he doesn't have like, as far as like the historical, like I think that because Fantastic Four never put out a decent movie, that people don't appreciate the Fantastic Four as much, but true comic nerds, like Fantastic Four is huge, right? And so, but and we talked about this on the live stream today earlier, Jay and I, but like with the passing of Chadwick Boseman as well, there's this aura about Black Panther, and like, yeah, I really think that of those collectibles that I just listed, like Spider-Man has to be number 1, but I put Black Panther number 2, and you guys are right. I mean, I just checked 1,700 gems on the secret rare. It seems like a decent play.
And maybe we'll get lucky and they'll come down even cheaper, right? Because say Money Transmitter license does come out and it goes through this crap storm of people selling, right? Like these kind of events happen. I remember when Todd McFarlane was like sitting on the market for $80 for forever, and people are like, oh, nothing's ever going to happen there. Do you realize how many people are wrong on that kind of stuff? And so even like Black Panther like might sit there just because the timing of when it released, even though, like you said, it's one of the coolest ones that's come out. And I really want the animated ones. I haven't bought them. I would love for the price to dip, and I'd love to scoop up a bunch of them. I did spend a whole bunch of gems buying those lenticulars, right? My available gems that I had, scooped up some lenticulars, bought some of the Peely Fantasy because of how big that is in Thailand. And so I have some gems sitting on the side, and I'll probably be buying some of the animated ones, or maybe even just a whole bunch of common Black Panthers because this character is so huge.
Right. Those are all amazing points. And I think the other thing that I'm starting to think more about now is, you know, when we look at Mickey and Friends for those lenticular cards, that is, I think, an $83 billion franchise, Mickey and Friends. And so when you think about these lenticular cards, you would presume, you know, despite them not being a statue, that they would be more expensive, in my opinion, than what they're going for right now. But then I start thinking about our target audience again, and I think, oh, well, why did R2 do so well? And when you look at the target audience for R2, it's, you know, 30 to 50-year-olds that are in the IT sector and law sector. And, you know, generally, if you look at the association to crypto, I'm pretty sure that would be a high association. And therefore, you know, Star Wars could be something that's more praised. And when I think about, you know, different people involved in the NFT space right now, like, you know, Neymar and like Snoop Dogg and Steph Curry, you know, who are buying these like Bored Apes. And I'm thinking to themselves, you know, if Neymar's got a Secret Rare Spider-Man and Batman on his back, you know, I wonder what he's going to want next when VeVe becomes a worldwide sensation. And I also think about, you know, inclusivity and equality and how there's a lot more focus on that now as well. And so really seeing, you know, more characters come to light that would appeal to the masses, I think is really key and critical. And that's why I'm also really bullish on that Miles Morales, you know, in addition to Black Panthers.
Yeah, he's a popular character, and the comic book sells for a ton, which is really good indicator that the digital comic will do really well.
Right.
Hey, while we're talking about latest drops, I want to give a little bit of time to the James Bond motorcycle because I think it's dope, and I don't get like it's been interesting that it seems like vehicles haven't done very well on VeVe, and they just announced the James Bond Aston Martin as well that's dropping. Is that Saturday morning? I think. Secret Rare Interactive. I mean, like is that something that is going to catch on at some point? Because I think Triumph motorcycles, like that's a huge brand. Aston Martin, that's a huge brand. James Bond, that's a big brand. So is this something that people are missing out on, and eventually it's going to be like, holy crap, like is it when the VeVe-verse comes out? What are your thoughts, Chad?
So I'm in total accordance with you. I think it's because there's been so many subsequent James Bond drops, like for instance that poster that didn't do too well because people are just looking at a blueprint of a glider and they're saying, well, what is the relevance there? But if you think about, you know, what is the top 5 James Bond NFTs that you can ever come up with, and also considering how big James Bond is as an industry, I would argue that the bicycle and the car, you know, the Aston Martin are probably within the top 5, you know, maybe top 10, but in some people's picks, even top 3. Like that Aston Martin car is massive. Like I would argue, like that to me is a grail like piece. I mean, that to actually see that being dropped and have little to no attention on it is almost comical. And I think this is exactly what VeVe is going to do to all of us in the future. There's going to be so many things and gems dropping that people aren't going to know where to put their money. And eventually you're just going to have to pick because you won't be able to keep up. But anybody that's a James Bond fan, that is a critical piece. That is essential, I would argue. And the fact that it's Secret Rare, interactive, and you know, who knows what the implications are, like you said, for the VeVe-verse, if you're driving these things around or you're parking it at your home. I mean, this is quite a collectible. So I think it's a big sleeper for sure.
It'll be interesting to see as the VeVe-verse comes out. That's when I think these vehicles take off. And also, if you think about it, think about the USS Enterprise, right, and the Borg Cube.
Yeah.
This ultra rare versions, right, that are interactive in the DeLorean. So I don't expect these ones to do well. And with James Bond, like they've dropped so many collectibles. And here's what I would ask you. Has anyone in here ever bought a James Bond collectible? Because like we like the movies, but do we collect James Bond stuff? Because I don't know anybody that says yes to that. So even though everyone likes the brand, do they collect stuff associated with that brand? Contrast that with Spider-Man, Marvel, like different story, right? And so even though everyone likes James Bond, I don't know how collectible it is on the collector side. So I think that's part of what's struggling, as well as just so many posters, right? And just kind of overwhelmed.
So I'm gonna throw my 2 cents with like why what we did see, the Triumph motorcycle is selling for more than like retail. Like right when it was released, so we saw it with the DeLorean, we saw it with the Ecto One, we saw it with the like James Bond glider, right? Like these other vehicles, they just overall did not do well after the drop. But the Triumph motorcycle has done decently well, right? I mean, I was trying to snipe it. Like the price was $87, and like when the market opened, it was at 90, and I kept trying to get the like anything 90, and I was like, this is crazy. And then it pumped to like 180. I think it maybe even got to 200, and then it's dipped a little again. I don't know where it's at now, maybe 160 to like 180, right? So it has done better in general after the drop than any of these others. And I think for a couple reasons is like the DeLorean, like yes, it's a car, but not one that like most people like. We attach it to Back to the Future, and there's some nostalgia there. But again, there were so many minted at that time that was like compared to anything else on the platform when that happened, that people were like, whoa, like there's no way that this can be worth anything. There's too many mints. And then the Ecto One, it's very like niche, you know, like but Triumph motorcycles are known worldwide, right? And it's a Triumph motorcycle. So this is an FA of a Triumph motorcycle. And yes, it's attached to James Bond and it was used in the movie, but it's a Triumph NFT. And I think that the Aston Martin, this is an Aston Martin NFT, the first Aston Martin that I'm aware of, the first Aston Martin NFT, right? And so I do think that it will perform better after the drop than some of these others, but I do agree with you, Rain, that if in the VeVe verse there is utility added to any of these vehicles, and I would expect if there was, right, that it's like, okay, if you own the ultra rare or the secret rare, right, depending on the vehicle, that like you'll be able to drive that around. Your avatar will be able to drive that around. And if that happens, I could see some like huge price movement in those collectibles. But I do think Aston Martin and the Triumph motorcycle over time will perform better than any of these other drops that are kind of just like niche tied to the movies as opposed to like its own specific brand.
Yeah, Orange Bag Lady just jumped on a little while ago. She says, agreed, the Aston Martin is absolutely stunning. Shows how well they can recreate classic cars as well as concept cars that will hopefully come in the future. Yeah, 100%. Thanks so much for being here. I know that Doc spends a lot of time in your Twitter spaces. I try and get there every once in a while. I wanted to apologize as well. Jester's Rune, one of our buddies, said, hey, when did the time change? Where's this stuff posted? We talked about it on the live stream. We tweeted about it a little bit, but we apologize that we didn't get the word out a little bit better for you, bro. Let's take another quick question. Stardust Runner asks, he says, we'd love to hear Chad's view of the common versus uncommon versions of the comics. Which does he see will do better in the long run?
That's a great question. I mean, so it's interesting, right? Because with the common covers, you have obviously the original comic that people are very familiar with. And, you know, even though there's a way higher edition run of like 36, sometimes 1,000 or even more than that, but people can resonate with it. People understand it. People know what it is. You know, with the uncommon variants, or so the uncommon, you know, comics, you have way fewer, sometimes, you know, 3,000 to 6,000 comics, but it's less familiar with people. But I do think that over time, scarcity will play a bigger factor than people are currently giving it credit for. And I think once we have more and more density, you know, I think we will see some higher, you know, attribution to those different variants. As another example of that, look at the secret rare Marvel #1 comic, right? You're looking at like a $70,000 floor. And right underneath that, the ultra rare, which only has, I think, 1,800 more comics, is going for like, you know, $2,300, if not cheaper now. And so there's some pretty massive distinctions between some of these variants. And I do believe that as we have more density and more saturation into some of these comics, that you will see scarcity play a bigger component, into that, just like what you do see in the real world, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was just broke Lucid Media just said most of the uncommon covers are lame, unfortunately.
I agree.
There've been a couple I mean the biggest distinction is the House of X, right? The Gambit and
That one's awesome.
Rogue.
Yeah.
And
I bought a
Stardust
whole
Comics.
bunch of that just because I like those characters so much, right? And I felt like that picture was amazing. But most of the time, the uncommon is like, I would rather have the common. Oh, there's less of these. Yeah, but it just has like some black and white that's like looks bad. So,
and I want to like ask another part to this question to Chad, because I collected comics, but more just like to read them, right? Than actually collecting them to collect them. I have some stash somewhere. I think it's in like my parents' garage somewhere. Like, so they're probably unprotected. I don't know, but I agree that like some of the uncommon covers, like they're just like the black and white variant of the common cover, right? And some of them just don't look very cool. But my understanding is that some of these like actual physical editions, like you'll have the normal common cover, and then there will be a black and white variant, and that's actually highly like pretty sought after. And so like with the scarcity, but do you think that as more comic collectors embrace, if you will, or come to embrace like the digital version of these things, that they will look at like this black and white variant, because that's what it is, it's just a variant, and be like, wow, it's the variant, it's black and white, and there's less of them, that they could like definitely migrate, not just because of scarcity, but I guess scarcity, and it's this variant of it as opposed to the common. So I just want to, I guess, get your thoughts on like how much like that variant, and even if it is kind of a lame looking cover, because there is less of those, but it's just different. That is there anything else just because besides scarcity that's going to impact that?
Right. So I think that's a great question. So it's interesting. So if we look at, for instance, like the Miles Morales comic in real life, right? For a 9.8 grade, I mean, you're probably looking at like maybe $3,500 now. It went up a little bit since all that speculation. And for the secret rare variant, which is exactly like the one on VeVe, you're looking at about a $20,000 comic at a 9.8 grade. And so, there is already some distinction there in the real world. And the reason for that is like if a comic book store, for instance, orders 1,000 comics of the same exact comic. So for instance, like Miles Morales, generally how it works is that you have, 5 different variants. So you'll have your 1 in 25 variant, you'll have your 1 in 50 variant, you have your 1 in 100 variant, your 1 in 500 variant, and then your 1 in 1,000 variant. So if you think about, the only way that a person can collect something like that is if they actually, go and buy a box of that amount, or they just pay for it outright. But that already talks about the scarcity. And if it's a super popular comic, I could really see people applying that same philosophy in, VeVe and saying, well, geez, this is the secret rare, version that is, 1/120th more rare, or, 120 times more rare. I definitely want to have that because I can have more of a safeguard for the protection of that value long term. And you see the same thing with Pokemon cards and comic books is like, for your base level, for instance, like Black Panther, Fantastic Four number 52, first appearance, for 3.0, you might be paying like, I don't know, $1,500, but for a 9.8, you're going to be paying like 100,000, if not more. And so people, I believe, what I've learned is that rich people and people that really are into collecting want the best of the best, because it's a total flex to say, guess what? I have a low mint secret rare Marvel comic number 1, than to say, guess what? I have an uncommon Marvel comic number 1. It's really speaks to, what kind of, I guess, social capital and what you're going to get out of that. And even for myself, I'm really into getting a low mint of something that I think is going to do really well long term, because I think that's going to be a massive asset. So for me, collecting some of these commons and these uncommons and things like that, I just don't see it as $1 million opportunities. So that's why I'd rather get something that's really popular, scarce, and has the potential for future utility.
Nice. Well said. Really good stuff. Let's talk about the gem squeeze a little bit. Because, I mean, we all saw this massive pump. God, how long has it been? 6 weeks, 4 weeks ago, something like that. And and then you wake up like, I mean, my Elsa statue, was like 4,100 gems, and now it's down to like 22 or like whatever, so I mean, I think that's on a lot of people's minds, in addition to what's happened to the value of the Omi token in the last couple of days. So I guess I'm just asking for general thoughts on what we think is going on exactly. Yeah, and I mean, obviously this is something that happens in the space. But Rain, do you want to talk a little bit about, some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so with big pumps, right? So this started about 6 weeks, and VeVe just went countercyclical and ran, even though nothing else in the crypto space was doing well, and VeVe took off, right? All the collectibles went up, especially the digital collectibles. And the comics went up a little bit, but it was the digital collectibles that really led that charge. And Todd McFarlane's went to like $14,000. And then there's just a retracement that happens, which is common. And the money transmitter license, I think, will cause a further retracement. Some people are looking for that exit ramp. They're very happy with where their numbers are at. They're going to exit just because they can. They'll later regret those exits, but and it happen. Bring prices down for those that are looking for opportunities to scoop up more at as low as they're going to get. We're not going to get Todd McFarlane's going back to $80 again. That ship has sailed and that day is gone. But maybe you can pick up some Black Panther comments or other things that just really get hit because the timing, they're really good. Some of these Disney lenticulars, right? You made a really good point, Chad, about the lenticulars not really catching on because the demographic of who's currently in VeVe, and those might not really take off till the Disney crowd wakes up to VeVe, and then all of a sudden they go absolutely crazy because there are a lot of people like Disney out there that just are completely unaware of VeVe, and that hasn't meshed yet. And when it does, like for a long time, there was a lot of these NFT people on Twitter that really had no idea what was going on with VeVe, and then some of them found them 6 weeks ago, and that's kind of what caused this pump. And they found this little backdoor to get a lot of gems in through. They would get like a Coinbase credit card. They would load ETH onto their Coinbase credit card, and then they could pay for it on the App Store to get essentially ETH transferred over into gems, so they could use some of the massive wealth that they've accumulated to buy. And that's part of what kicked off our big run we had 6 weeks ago. And so some ETH NFT whales came over, they saw the value and caused the pump. And so I think, the Disney collectors will find this eventually. Right now, you nailed it pretty well with the demographic of who's really here. And that's why Star Wars is outperforming a lot of other things. If and when the Disney people come in, those lenticulars will do well. And some of these things like the Elsa statue, which you brought up, D, will do amazing.
So I also think I want to touch on I think that what's happened this dip, I think that was we're talking about the MTL, there might be a further dip, but some of the dip is priced because of the MTL. I think that people, as they're starting to hear about that, they started selling because some people do want to take some profits, right? They've been in a long time and they're like, yeah, I'd love to cash out. So I think that that's what part of the dip was. I also think that part of it was there was this huge uproar in Twitter, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it too, Chad. But one of my favorite VeVe people, right, is Rev Alex G, and he tweeted like this spicy thing. The golden moments dropped, and he was like, "I'd say this is a 2 chili out of 4 chili," right? And kind of just trolling people. And I think that a lot of people then speculated and it's like, okay, there's something bigger than the golden moments happening. It's February. February is Pokemon. The end of February is like International Pokemon Day. And I do think that there was a lot of speculation on what if they did drop Pokemon or something that's going to be bigger than golden moments. And so then people were selling stuff to make sure that they had gems in case it was Pokemon. And I think that there's correlation because finally Alex in that AMA, and then he tweeted it out too, was like, oh my gosh, people, no, Pokemon's not coming. It's not coming this month. It's not happening. And we started to see after that tweet, we started to see kind of a rise in Elsa, because Elsa dropped down to sub 2K, right? And now you're saying it's at like 2,200 again, but like we're starting to see the market kind of come back and things. Number one, after he made that tweet, and then number two, after like Black Panther was announced, and we've seen that. So I'd love to see. Those are my thoughts on kind of like the combination of MTL, the spiciness, speculation, and look, like one of the thing real quick, like you can get burned with speculative things. Like I had seen a tweet from Chaosium about in response to their NFTs, and this was maybe like a month ago, where basically they said that they were adding additional utility to their NFTs. And I was like, man, most people don't know about this. Like, I'm going to freaking buy some more of these Chaosiums, right? And then they were like, hey, we're going to pull back from this for now. Like, and all of those prices have tanked. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I still love them. Like, and I bought them and I love them, right? But like, there's that danger in speculating on like, hey, this could happen. And then if it doesn't, right, are you left holding back? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on if there's anything else to this gem squeeze other than potentially MTL.
Right. Well, I always love the question, when Pokemon, right? Because as I told you before, I'm a Pokemon collector, hardcore.
Yes.
I'm just waiting to get,
Gosh.
all these graded. And I mean, I've got hundreds of them right now that are kind of, I'm about to submit. And, the biggest thing that I think about, right, is there's cards in Pokemon. Let's just say Rayquaza, which nobody's probably ever heard of us watching this.
I have. Come on.
There we go. That's going for like $40,000 as a PSA 10 from 2006, right? And there's there's more than 96 that are PSA 10s. There's probably like 150 now. So this is a card that majority of the world knows about Pokemon, but they don't know the intricacies. And there's hundreds of them at this high price point that are great at that point at that price. And we look at Secret Rare Spider-Man, okay, 58th most popular 58th countries believe that it's the most popular superhero in the world. And it is the first ever Marvel NFT. It's limited to 1,000 editions. So my thing is like, if that card that I just talked about in Pokemon is going to sell for $40K, then I'm pretty damn confident that over time, the Secret Rare Spider-Man that has potential utility coming that hasn't really even jumped out of its cage yet is really going to do well. So this is the kind of confidence that I think a lot of people that know collecting are really thrilled about VeVe, because they understand the scarcity, they understand the popularity of these things. And so I think the gem squeezes, people are anticipating Pokemon. I mean, you have Alfred Can there. That's literally the reason why I ever grew up with Pokemon cards in my house. And it is something that we're all speculating. And I'm so damn confident that if there was a Secret Rare Charizard limited to 1,000 editions, we may in fact see our first ever $1 million NFT, and Logan Paul would definitely be buying that. Oh
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So when Pokemon?
So when Pokemon?
Oh my gosh.
It is.
Oh my
so
gosh.
so the
He's
date
gonna blacklist us.
Yeah,
FYI.
no. But the Pokemon date it's February 27th of 2022. I mean, yeah.
It's not happening. Look, so
Yeah.
I'll just say one thing, and then I want to hear Rain's thoughts on what's going on with the Omi token.
Yeah, for sure.
But if I'm trying to be kosher here, right? But like, if Pokemon comes, but there's going to be such a flood of people onto this app. VeVe can't handle it right now, right? We need a new drop system. So like, there's no way that Pokemon's coming on until we have the waiting room system, right? And I think like with the MTL and some other things, because I think that they're going to try to give the users, right, the best chance at trying to get the Pokemon, the people who have been here, the people who have been collecting and are going to be able to use some of those master collector points to up their chances at getting one of these drops. So if Dan is saying that like Master Collectors Program and Omi Utility is probably not coming until the end of the second quarter, although don't quote him on that, like I just don't see us getting it before then, because what we don't want to happen is for them to announce Pokemon and to basically crash everything. And then all of those people who came in are just like, you know what? This was a terrible experience.
Right.
I'm out.
Right.
Yeah.
And so VeVe's got to think about those things too. So like, as cool as it would be to have it on, on International Pokemon Day, like realistically, I just don't think that the platform and everything is built out and ready for it yet.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think the other thing too is, we don't have localization yet where other countries could have the languages. So, I mean, you could, and I think I've said this before, but could you imagine if China had an app and they released the NFL and, no Americans even knew that this was happening? I feel like it would be very similar in the regards to Pokemon. So I do believe once the loops are closed, once there's localization, that it would be kind of their dangling carrot that they would finally pull out and say, guess what? We had it all along. And we'd be like, we know you did.
Well, Rain, we're getting up against it. We got about 10 minutes left. And the other side to this coin, so we've had the collectibles dipping in value, and then the Omi token in the last 3-4 days has really dropped, which is not what we were expecting if you watched the live stream from a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, what are your thoughts? Let's share your screen and
Can you? I've got a little tiny window. Can you share that, D?
Yeah, it should be coming up here. Come on, Life.
Maybe.
There we go. Yeah.
It does not want to share for some reason. Okay, there we go. So it was trading in this consolidation pattern here. And if you can see these blue lines, I can make them a little bit thicker. Well, yeah, you see essentially these blue lines. And it was trading perfectly within this pattern. And there was a 66% chance it was going to break to the upside after this consolidation. Well, it came down here, and with the rest of the market, it just dumped. Now, who's dumping? I don't know. Could be some people that are panic selling out. They've accumulated in here. Could be some people that have accumulated in here. We did look in the past weeks about the tokens that were vested. See, they had a very responsible vesting schedule when they launched, and they had a 3-year lockup on a lot of team tokens and advisor tokens and stuff like that. Well, year 3 started like a year ago. And so all during this year, a lot of tokens vested. And so that's like the retirement for a lot of people who put a lot of work in the early days, right? So the tokens pump from probably what they have it at like 200x. And so probably they were creating some selling pressure that kept it from breaking up higher to even these previous highs. Well, all of a sudden it broke down below this. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of support below this line. So we see it came down, broke past this support line, which you see the dots here. And then it's breaking all the way down towards this one. I did put a buy order in, actually just barely, right around this level to buy some more. Now, unfortunately for me, I loaded up right in here a whole bunch. I put a ton in. Well, by a ton, like 15,000 additional. And I'm already heavy on Omi. And so I was like, well, the chances are it breaks up from here. And I loaded up literally at like 7.5 or 0.75 cents. Thankfully, not 7.5 cents. And so I'm like, the only consolation I have now that it broke down is I can buy more cheaply. But unfortunately, it's not that I can't free up 15,000 to have it liquid. I just like D and I were talking. I was like, man, I could have got like 80% more Omi tokens for the same money if my magic crystal ball worked. But a lot of this, we're just playing the odds, and the odds were that it would break up. It did not. It broke down, which gives those that have not loaded up a chance to load up, or those that have available cash to really benefit from this. Now, why is this all happening? This is the bigger question I've been asking myself, like, what is going on with the market? And it makes me think of back in the crypto winter that many of you weren't here for. You weren't following crypto, but I was. I've been in this space for about 4 years. And what I look is like pattern recognition. So I was here. I came in when Bitcoin was about 6,200 and took the whole ride up, took the whole ride down too. And we had this weird pump in the middle of the crypto winter that was caused by actually a Bitcoin scam out of India and China. It took Bitcoin from these lows of like 3,200 all the way up to 14,000 before then coming back to 3,800. And we had this weird pump, and I was like, what the F is this? Then we hit this what the F low. Well, isn't that kind of what we're doing in this bull market? That we had this big early pump. We had this what the F pump, and then this what the F low. And we're just not done with that what the F low. So this whole period just reminds me of what this felt like, where, I was around back then and everything hit these lows they should have never hit again. And yet they did, because there's worldwide fears about this pandemic that, what's the mortality rate of this virus and what's going on. And we're shutting down economies in order to protect people. And how's that going to play out? We didn't know. And so the stock market tanked and crypto tanked. And so we're in a deal, like another international uncertainty, as well as some uncertainty of what the U.S. policy is going to be related to Bitcoin. And so, yeah, it's been tanking back here again. And it just reminds me so much of the feelings and the general sentiment of when I was around here. And if you weren't around here, just know that that's what this felt like, the same sentiment, the same kind of things people were saying. And so is it going to continue lower from here? Well, people said Bitcoin was going to 1,200 here, and it didn't. So are we pretty near low? I think we are. I don't know. So Omi, I'm going to take this opportunity, even though I'm licking my wounds because I could have bought way more. I'm like, okay, I put in a buy order, and hopefully that gets filled. It's got to tank a little bit more before that gets filled. But it's probably going to come right down close to this resistance line right here. Maybe it breaks through, and if so, I will find some more money to buy some more cheaply because I think Omi is super undervalued. So I know its market cap looks like it's almost 4 billion. Well, not after this price decrease. It's probably half, but half of that circulating supply isn't really in circulation. In fact, over half. And so take what the circulating supply they're saying is and decrease it. So let me pull that up. CoinGecko. Omi, and let's look at what that circulating supply. Oh, well, thank you. Maybe we will coin market cap it. And it's probably half of what it says it is, the true, because they hold a whole bunch in their ecosystem that they just keep in their wallets. So it's saying the fully diluted market cap is 2.8 billion. It's probably closer to 1.4 or below that. No, wow, their market cap. Oh, this is probably a more accurate one than CoinGecko was showing. It's showing the market cap is 636 million. That's probably more accurate than what we've been seeing in CoinGecko. So I could get on board with that. Max supply, let's say circulating supply, 166 billion Omi. That's probably a lot more accurate than what CoinGecko had been showing. So this is probably the true market cap of Ecomi right now, or close to it, closer than what I've seen. So that's great. I think it's massively undervalued. I think this is the platform that has the best licensed NFTs. This is the platform that 50 years from now, people look back and they say, oh man, what was I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing those. I remember them talking about it. And why didn't I put like $1,000 into those collectibles?
Yeah. I was gonna say we'll be the ones who, like, that meme, right? Where it's just like, like, grandpa, how come we're so filthy rich? And it's like, well, grandson, is because I landed a Spider-Man secret rare off the drop, and then he's like, effing legend,
Exactly.
I bought Omi when it was like, half a cent, I mean, that type of thing. But hey, let's jump into this giveaway. So one of the things that we do on these live streams is throughout the week, I try to snipe something that I can then give away during this thing, and we have our guests come up with a trivia question. So I'm going to turn it over to Chad to throw out his trivia question for people to win Spider-Man Common mint number 1532, I think it is 1532. So go for it, Chad.
Well, so before we do the question, let's lay out what we need. So we're looking in the comments or in the live chat. Whoever gives us the answer first is going to be the winner. But we need your Telegram handle so that we can get your VeVe QR code and get that over to you. And we're up against the time. We like to keep these to an hour. We're not going to make that, but if you can give it to us like ASAP, that would be great. I will let you ask your question now, Chad.
Okay, so this may be a difficult one depending on who's more involved in VeVe and who's not, but here it is. So name 2 NFTs that VeVe should have named First Appearance, but decided to keep First Edition. So let's see if somebody comes up with this.
Wow. Do you know, Doc?
I like
I
the
bet,
deep
I bet you
trivia.
know.
I do think I know. Yeah.
Are there more than 2, Chad?
There are, but I'm
Okay.
looking for 2.
Just 2, yeah.
And how are the comments doing? Anybody write something yet or no?
Nothing yet.
Okay,
Yeah, they're
well,
racking their brains.
I'll give them a clue. It's in the first set.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not Todd.
And
Hey,
it's
Louis-
not Todd.
Yeah, Luis Gatica says Daisy and Donald.
No.
Nope. Hey, Doc, tell us what's the giveaway this time?
It's the Spider-Man. So
Spider-Men.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, you said
so-
Spider-Man.
Alex,
I thought you said Spider-Man common, and I was like, what
No,
Spider-Man are you talking about?
Spider-Man. So with it being Black History Month, and that release of
You're right.
when Miles Morales meets Peter Parker,
Peter Parker,
right?
sure. Yeah, that
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. So mint number 1532. So sub
Okay,
2000 mint.
So Alex
That's
says
chubby.
Batman Black and White, Becky Cloonan, and Joe
Yeah.
Mad, right? Joe Madeira.
He got it. Alex.
Cool.
Nice. There it is.
Congrats.
Sweet. Congrats, Alex. Yeah, drop your Telegram handle in the chat for us. Yeah, Rizzo and Todd, Luis said not quite.
I was close.
In the
'cause
right,
not
yeah,
Todd.
in the right vein. But yeah, hard question, says Bernard. Yeah, for sure. It's
Sorry,
funny. No, it's great. Yeah,
This is
we love
VeVe,
it.
man. This is
Yes.
VeVe. We're gonna get you guys into VeVe.
So Alex, again, yeah, you're the winner. So get me your Telegram handle, and like I said, we're up against it a little bit, but but yeah, I'm just curious, like any closing thoughts that anybody has. I mean, there were a couple of things on the agenda that we didn't really talk about. Anybody want to bring up something really pressing?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I just want to share is, when I started collecting Pokemon cards, right? Some of these booster boxes that I got into, the early 2000s, some of the times now are worth over $90,000, right? Just think about that for a booster box with cards.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing here, right? I mean, as time progresses, right? Like you see Apple's coming out with these new glasses, you see augmented reality becoming a thing, virtual reality, metaverses, and, and 10 to 15 years from now, it's likely that you can project your Marvel 1 Secret Rare in your background and it would be spinning and throwing flames and it would be animated. And I mean, this is not fanatical. This is likely going to happen if you imagine how much technology is going to evolve over the next 10 to 20 years. And at that point, you'll likely see the same kind of, understanding and treasuring of these items, which happen to be NFTs of the new world. And so I just think for anyone that's not convicted, I mean, I this might be the best opportunity that you've ever laid your hands upon, and I do believe it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
So I'm going to echo those thoughts, Chad. I mean, I remember growing up and like as I learned about finance and things and being like, oh, I wish I could have invested in Microsoft. Oh, I wish I could have invested in Apple, right? Like, oh, I wish I could have invested in Berkshire Hathaway. Oh, I wish I would have invested in Tesla, right? Like time and time again, oh, I wish I would have bought Bitcoin or I understood it. And I am sitting here in VeVe and I'm like, this is it. Like for me, as I've done the research and again, not financial advice, right? But as I look at the team, as I look at like what Web3 is going to become, as we're going into this digital space and the metaverse and all of this stuff, right? And NFTs are going to be integral into Web3 in so many, not just in like PFPs and not in just the 3D avatars, right? But in so many, in the storage of data and so many other things that like it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And we are on the ground floor and it's exciting time. And so, I just echo Chad's sentiment on that.
There's something special about VeVe, right? I remember in March when VeVe really started, like their app had come out and they had these collectibles and they had some IP that they had talked about. They had a lot more lined up, but they wouldn't tell us what it was. And there was other platforms coming out like Terra Virtua Collect and stuff. And like you only have so much space, so much time, so much attention that you can pay. And I was like, VeVe, this is it. They have the top licenses, like the very best licenses. I believe in this team. Like, I think they're going to continue hitting out of the park. And they have like further their lead from even that time with what they've been delivering. And so really pleased with what they're doing. I think this is one of the platforms that's like, I don't want to miss out on. I'm already really heavy on the Omi token, and I just put a bunch more in. Why? Because, I like this bet, and I like to take bets where there's still some risk. You never know what could happen, but the potential reward, if you're right, is so big, right? And so, it's been great to have your perspective, Chad, as somebody that totally nailed it with the Pokemon collection. You see what's going on with VeVe, and you're like, yep, same thing.
Yeah, except VeVe has, everything, and they might also have Pokemon. So
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Well, thanks a bunch, everybody. This is Chad, especially. Thanks for being our special guest. For those of you who are still here, we'll be here next week, same time, 7:30 Pacific. Another giveaway from Doc Sniping, and Rain, do you want to close
so
this out here?
If you're ready to level up your crypto game, join the Rainmaker community. Rainmakers are like the Navy SEALs of crypto. We do a live stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific, where we talk about smart crypto investing. And we do this VeVe special at 7:30 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday. So whether you're here for life-changing money, I know a few of you are here for wife-changing money, or if you're that really nice car like the Lambo, strap in, because these next months, they're going to be rough, they're going to be choppy, and then they're going to blast off. And looking forward to it. Remember, no rain, no gain. This, do we have the ability to give them the wrap today?
No, we'll just cut it.
Stay for the live stream, or join us for the live stream on Friday, and we'll give you that wrap.